Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Spotlight. How are you today? I am so happy that you found the time to join us. This is a very special event today. And of course, I'm going to ask you if you are watching on Facebook, give us a like, give us a heart, give us a follow, and share this out if you would. Start a watch party. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. We are growing, and I would love to have you along for the ride. So today I get to introduce you to a fantastic lady that really helped me a lot getting back to focus on all of the many things that go into creating my broadcast empire. Echo, echo, echo. Um, so I want to introduce you to Miss Rebeccah Steele, a business and wellness intervention coach with RebeccahSteele.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, Rebeccah. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Gail. I really appreciate this moment, and I am feeling great. It's really an interesting time to get to chat with you here, with me being here in the UK and you being in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fantastic that we have communication during these times. So. I'm well, thank you. So if you
Good.
hear, by the way, some fireworks going on in the background, you know it's Guy Fawkes Day.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. The 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day.
Yes.
That's an amazing holiday to remind everyone that insurrection against the crown is not necessarily a great idea.
You know, there's so many forms of a conversation around this, and I'm sure if we allowed everyone to have their say, yeah, that would be interesting to follow as well as to
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
thoughts.
Speaking of everyone getting to have their say, we're in the midst of that right now over here with the election. What's the perspective from the UK on the outside looking in to what's happening over here in the US these days?
I'll certainly speak for myself. However, I think, those of us on the business front, as business owners, we always look to the what's kind of the changing landscape, if you like, whether we need to redesign something, some facet of our business. And as we all know that the US, for certainly for me, has been a platform where a lot of change happens, and it reflects back to on the with the rest of the world as well, as they also design their landscapes around what's happening in the US. And maybe some might disagree with me, but that's okay. It's okay to disagree.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I want to first of all thank you so very much for the work that you did with me, for me, around me, my space, and all of that, that really helped clear and lighten up a lot of what I'm dealing with, leave it to me. I can't just start a show. I've got to start three shows, and a new Facebook group and all of this stuff. And at some point, it just gets to be overwhelming, and very heavy and mentally and physically even exhausting. And I know that there's a lot of other business owners like myself that deal with that, especially it may go through phases where you're gearing up for Black Friday or you're gearing up for the next year's launch or Christmas or whatever the case may be, where you go through this time period where there's just so many things to do that you start to lose sight of what to do first or what to do next, and then the whole thing just starts collapsing in on itself. So with the work that you were able to do with me from the UK, and I'm here over like in Southwest US, it opened things up and lightened things up so much for me, and I want everybody to have access to your genius.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I mean, that is just amazing to hear. I was just so grateful that we got together and I was able to be of assistance in this situation, because wherever there is an obstacle, where we find that there is an obstacle, I feel that there is a way. Where there's a will, there is a way forward. And you can go around an obstacle, you can go over it. However, you have to be able to see that you have an obstacle in place. And there is this term FOMO, right? And FOMO, with the fear of missing out, so which also adds to that overwhelm, because if we are not doing all of those things that we've set out to do, we are stumbling over these obstacles, but picking ourselves up again and going again. Yeah, where does it end?
Right.
So
Right.
thank you for that.
You're very welcome. I wonder if it ever really does end, or if we just find better ways to manage it. And I think that the way that you helped me is a very good way to help manage it. Because, if we want our business to grow, if we want our business to expand, it's going to go in cycles, right? It's just
Yes,
nature, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Awesome stuff. So let me start by asking you today, when I mean, I know what the experience was like for me, but
Mhm.
when just any business owner comes to you and they're exhausted and they're overwhelmed, what can they expect out of working with you?
That is a great question. Gail, I am so I'm so deep in this connection to the person, that when they come to me, I want to know exactly where they are right now, and what's happening for them. So for me, it's all about listening first to the nuances in what they possibly are not able to articulate. So there is a listening behind the conversation, and that roadmap that they're giving me. And I through my own journey in my with my own health in my own businesses before, I found that this listening is actually a part of what I do, without, in the past I did without knowing that I was doing it. And as I got to understand that this is where I can also tune in to other people, into what the nuances of what they might not be saying. And then with all the other with the programs I offer, this is how I find the correlation between those nuances.
That is a not necessarily unique skill, but it is extremely rare skill, that ability to listen through,
Mm,
whether it's body language, tone, inflection, word choice, of what's really going on behind the words that being presented.
yes.
I know from my own experience, sometimes people don't even realize that they're not speaking authentically
Mm,
until you actually are able to go, you know what, that doesn't quite sound the way that it should. Let's look a little bit deeper at that. And that's what you do too, right? Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it comes across as when people, we talked about the sense of overwhelm, and when people in this, we might, and myself included, in the sense of overwhelm, we can come across, there's a syndrome that, I that we hear about, the imposter syndrome. We know what we're doing, we know what we have to do, but when we come into the the field, there's so much that we have to do, that we feel like it's almost a sense of feeling incapable, of
Yeah.
delivering our highest value. And that comes from this exhausted, fatigued state. And I feel that there are a lot of us who are going through that imposter syndrome right now, feeling, are we doing our best? Are we, being authentic to the moment? And there's a fine line between feeling incapable and being inauthentic, in that, if we don't want to do something and we don't like what we're doing, but we just do it because we want to get from somebody something, but we don't necessarily want to give back. We just want to get it over and done with. I think that comes across as inauthentic. But I think the sense of feeling incapable belongs more to the person feeling that overwhelmed. They know their stuff, they know what to do, but it's like, can I do it? Yeah. Do I do it? When do I do it?
Yeah, you remind me of a concept that I learned from some of my friends that have like lifelong chronic illnesses, and they call it the spoon theory. And it's like every day you're given 4 spoons, 6 spoons, right, however many spoons there are, right? And each thing that you do, you trade a spoon for it. And your spoons are your energy. And at some point during the day, you run out of spoons. And you just don't have it in you to give any more. And it gets compounded by the fact that, oh my gosh, there's so much more to be given. And I can't. Or I can't bring myself to what's wrong with me. And I've been in that space. And thankfully you helped me out of that space quite a bit. Now, for me, when you and I scheduled the first biofeedback treatment, it was very interesting to me because I had forgotten the day that we scheduled it. You were planning to do it before I awoke. And it just so happened that my daughter wanted to go hiking that day. And so we got up much earlier than I normally get up. We went out on the mountain when we were hiking. And at a certain point during the day, I felt the sun crested over the mountain. And it was just in my face. And I was just standing there soaking it up. And I was filled with this feeling of being energized and being well, and all was right with the world. And then when I got back to the house and realized what time that happened and what time you were working on me, it was the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not necessarily going to give you credit for what the sun did on my face, right? But there was something in addition to that I've never felt before from just, sun gazing in the morning, right? That I know that I could feel the impact of what you were doing. And let me tell you, whether it was up before dawn and sunrise hiking, alone, or your stuff too, I had the best day ever that day.
Oh, well done.
I did. So,
I mean, that is the bottom line. It's like with biofeedback, we're talking about, how are we going to notice what's different? However, it's the way it works is all about, here's a lovely analogy I've heard someone else say before. If you think about, we're on many parallel roadways, right? And the roadway you're on is rather congested and feels heavy and all of that. And, at some point the roadways, there is a point where the roadways can converge, where you can take what we call a quantum leap into another roadway where, it's clear. And, in a way, that's how biofeedback works. It's about shifting the frequency in the mind, body, and around you to a place you think, how did I get here? What happened?
Right.
It sounds a little bit like Alice in Wonderland, but
Right.
it is like that. And the only thing I feel is that I can say is that just what you said, you take those moments and you own it and you enjoy it because, hey, as they say, life's too short. That moment was a perfect moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the memory of that moment allows us to think that
Yeah.
we can create a ripple effect with it, keep it moving, go forward.
Beautiful stuff. Now, how is it normal for people to have an instantaneous impact like that with your work? Or, like say if somebody else came to you because of just, exhaustion and overwhelm, how quickly could they expect to see results from working with you?
Do you know that is an excellent question. So we all have a unique fingerprint. We all have a unique um, uh, DNA sequence. And that in itself says that even though we're experiencing that same feeling of overwhelm, we know what overwhelm feels like, we know what exhaustion feels like. However, the roads that we all come into this feeling of overwhelm and exhaustion have been different. And in that is a myriad of also experiences, some good, some traumatic, some, and we actually, from the work I know that you've been involved in is with even PTSD, all of those things. Now, there will be some people who may not have experienced PTSD or trauma in that sense. However, they've possibly burnt the midnight oil so many nights in a row that the body sees that as trauma. So there will be people who experience that instant they are ready, their mind, their body, their spirit are ready to kind of flip onto another roadway, right? Whereas others are the heavier in it's like trying to convince somebody that this is the way that they could go. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right.
And so that's the same way. It's like for some it will take a couple of sessions, and others they will just feel that immediate effect. And I feel that those who have got who are more sensitive to energy, they feel the effect almost immediately. They as soon as I start, they're already correcting. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice stuff. Now, you can help anyone, can't you? I mean, are there people that you can't help? Are there people that are like so encased in their little shell that nothing can get through?
It's biofeedback is for everyone. It's for everyone. It's whether it's everyone's cup of tea, as we say, and and of course there's so many biofeedback practitioners around the world. In the US, there are so many, and around here in Europe, and there's a growing awareness of biofeedback, and where people from really extraordinary illnesses are being helped by biofeedback in circumstances we wouldn't think, how is it going to work for this person. We talk about even ALS, for example, where that is quite a degenerating condition. And there's so much that biofeedback does for ALS and for all sorts of nerve related issues. In fact, we use biofeedback for my husband who had a stroke nearly 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And he walked out of the hospital 5 weeks later. Now, it was a combination of things. The main part of it was in this case with my husband Nick, it was he didn't see himself in the hospital. He's like, hang on a minute, what happened to me here? Right.
Yeah.
And, there might be people who might not always react like that. But that was to the benefit of the biofeedback, because that is actually answers your question about that he felt it. He was ready. He was ready to go to another roadway.
Nice. Nice. All right, cool. So now you've got to have some sort of like onboarding process or details on what kind of people you want to work with. What does that look like?
Right. That's an excellent question, because in my previous business, primarily as a holistic therapist, I worked with everyone. And right now, I have narrowed that primarily to focus on women entrepreneurs and women in business, because I feel that in today's circumstances, a lot more women are coming into the forefront to provide for their families, to take, and they've got young families as well. So my focus is on making sure that they opening the scenario up to support their energy fields whilst they get to do what they're so good at doing.
Nice. Yeah, because I got a, from my own experience watching all of the women and mothers that I know, there is an enormous drain on your well, so to speak, of energy, of determination, of all of those things that keep you going to do the multitasking that it takes to take care of family, take care of home, take care of business, strategically grow your business, and all of those things. So, yeah, it stands to reason that women entrepreneurs, especially those with families, need your services more than other segments of society, if you will, even though it could benefit any segment of society.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good stuff. Now, what is it that you are working on right now? I mean, what's your priority in business? One-on-one, or you got a group, you got a do-it-yourself course happening soon?
Right. That's a great question again, because right now I'm focused on one-on-one, because it is my goal to get people to their result. And I feel that there's certainly, I can apply it to a group, and I might do that eventually as the year goes on and into 2021, and I will adjust my program accordingly. However, right now I feel that you know getting one person to their result is going to help 100 other people. It's not me helping a million that will help another million. I just feel that there's something in the small number that becomes the bigger. It expands. So right now it's one-on-one, because my focus is on especially with women entrepreneurs, where there's so much going on for them, and I would not want that to be diluted, and that would be actually I would feel it would be disrespectful to where their zone of genius is, and I would like to make sure we keep that intact whilst we're working together.
And that makes a lot of sense to me too, because since I've experienced your work, there were things that we discussed one-on-one that maybe not me, but many people might not have been comfortable talking about in a group situation. And you were able to actually drill down in a couple of situations that we were discussing with me in a very personal and safe way, that you wouldn't necessarily have access to do that inside of a group context. So I think I agree with you. I think your priorities are in the right space for the work that you're focused on right now. Now, I know that you are offering all of our audience a 45-minute complimentary consultation, and that's mind-blowing. I interviewed someone last week or the week before who was offering a 91, and I almost fell off my chair. 90-minute free consultation. Because it's like, do you have any time left to do paying work? Because it's a lot of time to invest with someone who still would be left with the choice at the end. Do you want to go down this path, or do you not want to at this time? So that's a huge offer. And how is it that our audience can take advantage of that offer?
Right. Thank you for asking that. And so they can go to this link, bit.ly, /business wellness coaching, to book a connect and clarify call with me, because with the goal to connect, because as you connect, you rebuild that connection first to what it is that you want. So that is bit.ly, /business wellness coaching.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, I want to ask you final thoughts. If there, is there any 2 minutes, 2 bits that you want to give to our audience today?
Do you know what? I feel that right now, in overcoming the challenges right now in our businesses, given what's going on in the world today, and given that actually today the UK went into a full lockdown again. So the mood here is quite challenging for a lot of people. And I imagine it's for the US as well, and for many of our colleagues around the world. And so I would say that the first step to turning that challenge into a win is first to find the space. And I say finding the space means there are thoughts we're having. Can we find a moment to find the space between the thought? Now that's challenging, isn't it? Finding the space between the thoughts. And what does that involve? It involves breathing. And, we hear that so often. Take a breath, take a moment to, do a full belly breath and breathe in. And you've just given a space to those thoughts. And it's amazing what it can do for the mind, body, and spirit.
Fantastic. I love that. Those are really great final thoughts. Keep breathing, everyone. Keep breathing.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again so much for your support, your assistance, everything that you've done for me, and for being here on the show today. I hope that many, many people in my audience reach out to you and allow themselves the freedom that you offer. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Gayle, for having me. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
When you open yourself up to actual energy work, makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life? I can show you how.